Hello and welcome to today's episode of Michael's Corner. My name is Michael. If you enjoy this content, please like, subscribe, and share with anybody who might be interested in this type of show. It really helps this channel out. Also, if you are looking for unique gift items for this holiday season, please check out the nuimagestore.com for some really cool things. Now, first a disclaimer. Now, before I start the show, let me say this. I love the United States and would never leave because there is nowhere else in the world where people have the freedom that we do here. But are we changing into a country that's trying to run every aspect of the Americans' lives, i.e. socialism? And on today's show, I'm going to examine how our country is changing and what we can do about it. Now, first of all, the textbook definition of socialism is political and economic theory, of social organization which advocates that the means of production, distribution, and exchange should be owned and regulated by the community as a whole. Okay? Now, in modern times, it has a different meaning. In modern times, it is associated with the concept of public or collective ownership of property and natural resources, and has long been associated with Marxism and communism. Yes, that's right. Now, today, Americans' view of socialism, it has broadened. Many still view socialism as government control of the economy and as restrictions to all of the freedoms that we hold dear in this country. Now, did you know there is a wide range of responses when it comes to what Americans think socialism is? I thought I fully understood it myself, but in my research, I learned a few things. First of all, according to the Gallup poll, 24% of Americans mentioned that it means equality, 17% think that it means government ownership of the means of production. Now, if you ask Democrats, 57% view socialism positively, where for Republicans, it's only 16%. Now, to understand this better, think of their general points of views. Democrats heavily believe in regulating society in most things, where Republicans believe in very little interference from the government at all in support of small business. Now, other political parties have varying degrees of these two main views. Now, I personally believe that the government is interfering wherever they can in modern times in the lives of Americans, to the detriment of many of our personal freedoms. I think we are truly becoming more socialist in the second, as discussed in the second definition that I gave you. It seems to me that we have very little choice in many matters in today's society. Based on this, I believe this sort of socialism is already here. And if we are not careful in the USA, we may find ourselves in a country much like what the Soviet Union is and modern day China is. Now, I hope my prediction is not true, but there are many signs of this, and it has me concerned, as all of us should be. If you're wondering why I'm sensationalizing this, this is done with purpose. Anyone who has followed me for a while knows that when I do a show, my subject is designed to provoke thoughts and discussions so we can answer these questions that a lot of people are afraid to ask, which is the very reason I created this show. Now, that's my soapbox for today. I'll see you guys in the next section. Welcome back to the questions and answers section of the show. Now, last episode, I told you all that this would be an eye-opener. I hope you all agree that it was. I certainly learned something interesting. I learned that socialism has many meanings to many people, including myself, and yet this term has been around since 1949, Cold War, at the advent of the Cold War. And yet this term has, and yet this term and meaning has changed with the times between then and now. Now, I have no questions for you folks today, but I do have a few questions for you. Now, do you agree with my assessment of what socialism means in the modern world? Do you think the USA is more like the regular definition of socialism or the modern version of it? Finally, what do you see happening in this country's future based on what I've discussed today? I'll see you in a bit for my final thoughts for this episode. Welcome back to my final thoughts. Now, in discussing the idea of socialism in this country, the Democrats and the Republicans have very different viewpoints when it comes to this subject. Other parties besides the two main ones have variations on what it actually is, the socialism. I myself think that we should be somewhere in between liberalism and capitalism. There should be regulation in the country when it comes to basic human needs like shelter, health, education, and jobs, while allowing the American people the ability to be the makers of their own destiny. We should support what the original Constitution stands for, which would allow innovation, creativity, peace of mind, and a reason to be proud of what we have. Finally, we should support small business because our country was founded on small business, on entrepreneurship. My final point is that the more you try to regulate every aspect of American's life, the more resistant people will be to the changes that may be good, but that infringe upon our freedoms. Now, in this episode, I discuss what socialism is and how it has changed in the last 40 years. We've also learned how different people have different interpretations about what it means. Finally, I shared my opinion, and whether you agree or disagree with it is up to you. Now, next week's episode is going to be entitled Abortion, Roe versus Wade Again. I hope you will tune in for what will definitely prove to be an interesting and controversial subject to talk about, which is just the way I like it. But until then, I want you all to be safe, be careful, be open-minded, and I will see you all in the next episode. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.